Our courses are designed to prepare students both for college and for business development. We believe we must redevelop this culture of business, and so everything that we do must have an element preparing students to run their own businesses, to create their own businesses, to make their own ways. Now, the focus: math, both foundational and advanced; language arts, expressive arts, language arts, both written and oral expression. I don't just mean poetry. Anytime that we're writing or speaking or even doing nonverbal kinds of action, pantomiming, etc., that's expressive. But there's also the receptive side of language arts, and that's reading and reading comprehension and developing reading skills, listening skills. Critical. Then there's science, both foundational and advanced. There's social studies, historical and current, local, national, and international. Then there are the arts, visual, auditory, foreign language, computer, and technology. Let's move on. Let's take a look at math, okay? Let's take a look at the math offerings, okay? There's foundational math, okay? Now we're going to go down here. There's the fundamentals of mathematics that exist, that consist of advanced mathematics, advanced arithmetic, basic algebra, basic geometry, and basic statistics. That for us are the fundamentals of mathematics, and you'll see here some of the required course materials there. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, here in intermediate math, we have the advanced algebra, trigonometry, and basic real analysis. As you can tell, we don't play. We want our students to know this material. They can know it material. They can know it. They're smart, and we show them how to learn it in small group settings. Our school, we have 30 students at tops. Many times it's 15 students. We pride ourselves in having a small group of students and working with that group of students to achieve mastery. Okay, let's take a look at the next area. Okay, then well, here is a sample lesson, so you get a chance to see what a sample lesson in math would be about. The advanced algebra, just week 2 of advanced algebra, students will be able to give a clear definition of a constant, definition of a variable, definition of algebra, and be able to explain the properties of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. All right, and if you over to the right, I could click here and take you to various assignments that you would see, and these would bring these up right here. And so you see a sense of the instruction that's here. All right, now there's advanced mathematics. We'll go down. Well, we'll stop and pay homage to Benjamin Banneker, or Bamananka, as I like to call him. Differential equations, linear equations, advanced calculus, complex variables, and partial differential equations. That's advanced mathematics. So you got to see. Now let's look at science 2010. I'm moving fast because I just want to give you a sense of it. If you want more information or questions, please, we'll double back at the end and answer any of your questions and go back into it and go deeper. Have no problem with that. Love to do that, as a matter of fact. Now let's take a look at science. The environmental science in the fall, and astrobiology in the spring, also introductory chemistry in the fall, and organic and biological chemistry in the spring. That's what we're going to be doing, what our scientists, young scientists, are going to be doing. Here's a sample again for the science about the environmental science course. I want to cut down to the objectives: to develop a functional understanding of the science of ecology, to understand the relationship between humans and the environment, to develop a realistic and practical understanding of environmental conservation, and to be able to differentiate between environmentalism and environmental science. And of course, you see the required materials, the volunteer requirement. All students are required to complete 45 hours of community service per semester in order to complete the course. In one of the following areas, they must volunteer: recycling, pollution prevention, etc. All right, now let's go to social studies. All right. The purpose of the social studies curriculum is to provide the students with an understanding of the historical and present events to help them understand their world and the world. All right. The goal is for them to understand and navigate the social milieu of their times, and to be able to make critical decisions about their present and the future that will help their families, our people, and all people in that order. Comparative state history. It is a major course. Okay, students. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Origins of world civilizations. It is foundational. Following Araminta. That is Harriet Tubman. This is a U.S. history 1820 to 1913. Then there are visions for black men, visions for black women, promised moment versus the promised land, which is a mini course. Ancient civilizations, that is 18th century dynasty in Kemet or Egypt, that's also a mini course. And also a course, a mini course on social justice. All right, let's just dive a little bit into the comparative state history just to give you a sample of what we're talking about here. All right, students will be assigned in pairs and they will begin to study the various states, and some of our students who are outside, like in Trinidad and Bermuda, will be comparing the government of the island. And other students will be learning, let's say, Mississippi, and those students will actually be teaching each other as they learn about their state and comparing and contrasting the development of the states. Now, when we say the state history, we have a very unique approach. The part that's similar to everyone is we look at state geography, population, economy, government, science, and technology. Okay, but what we also do differently is we also look at early state formation. And when we say early state formation, first we want to go to Africa's 1,000 years of independent civilizations and governments prior to Arab and European invasion. We don't spend a lot of time on that, but we spend enough time to get students grounded to make sure that they begin to see Africans in positions of governance, okay, of governing. If we just start state history where Trinidad or Bermuda starts, then we're starting in colonial governments, okay, or in any state in the U.S. And we're seeing Africans resist and participate in various ways, but we're not seeing them us governing. So it's important that we actually see us governing, and we take a look at 1,000 years of independent civilizations and governments as a foundation. We also look at the Native Americans before European expansion and American colonization. Then we look at the European European expansion and colonization. All right, then that gives the background for early state formation, and then we look at, of course, captivity and resistance and reconstruction. We look at 19th century, and we bring it up into the 20th century, civil rights, black power movements, etc. That's comparative state history. It is a major course. It is a lot of work, and students love it. They learn a little bit, a lot there. Let's take a look also at more. If we just break down into government, so I want you to understand, here we were looking at government, and you see that plus sign there, that gives us let you know that there's more there. All right, so I'm going to take us into that government. So we want people to understand what we want to understand about government. The student understands the basic principles and cultural assumptions and the world views reflected in the state's constitution. Critical. The students understand the principles of limited government: checks, balances, federalism, separation of powers, popular sovereignty, individual rights, and of course, this is the part that's unique to our Education Institute. We want them to understand the oppression of African people as expressed in the Constitution and in the state government as it was founded, and of course, if it exists and it continues. We also want the student to be able to describe the structure and the functions of government at municipal, county, and state levels. And if we're in different areas, those units of state government may be called different things. There may be a parish as opposed to a county and other things. We want the students to identify major sources of revenue for the state and local government. Citizenship. We want the student to understand the rights and responsibilities of their state's citizens. We want then the students to be able to analyze the validity of the citizenship contract with African Americans or African Bermudians or whomever, and Native Americans in that state. That is, we want to account for oppression in terms of in the social contract. Also, leadership. We want them to identify the qualities of elected and appointed leaders of the past and the present. We want to make sure that they include black leaders in that whole process. And also, we want to look at laws and sanction traditions for and against Africans. So those are examples of how we take a particular area and we go deep into that. That's just a sample of how we work with our social studies curriculum and how we will work it with 2009 and 10. All right, let's move now to language arts. All right, this year's courses include grammar and composition, advanced grammar and composition, storytelling, spoken word, public speaking, and argumentation and falsification. That's a major one. In order to graduate from our Education Institute, you have to take argumentation and falsification. It's based on the work of Amos Wilson and falsification of African consciousness. Literature, reports, essays, papers, speed reading, and honors book reading all make up this year's course in language arts.